yourself feeling stressed or anxious? Try these 8 tips. Hi, my name is Catherine. Welcome back to my channel. Today, I will share with you 8 tips that has helped me and is continuing to help me to reduce stress. Now, before I begin, I am not a doctor or a therapist. I'm just sharing with you tips that has helped me to reduce stress. Tip number 1, stop worrying about things that you have no control over. Why worry about something that you can't control? God did not design us to worry or to stress. Now, in the Bible it says, don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank Him. Now, sometimes that may be easier said than done, because we as humans, we just stress about everything, things that we have no control over. We still find ourselves stressing out about it. But at the end of the day, why stress about something that you have no control over? Sometimes when I find myself being overwhelmed, I always think about the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to accept the things that I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. And sometimes I repeat this over and over and over again, and the more times I repeat it, it brings me calmness. It helps me to calm myself down, and I'm not so anxious. Also, think about it. Can worrying add any value to your life? And the answer is no. In the Bible, it also says, can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? Okay. So that first verse that I read you was from Philippians 4:6, and the second one was from Matthew 6:27. Now, if you see me looking down, I'm looking down to make sure that I stick to my points and don't ramble on, okay? So that was tip number 1. Stop worrying about things that you have no control over. Tip number 2, eat well. Persons don't realize that what you eat can affect your mood. So I would advise you to eat as healthy as humanly possible. Now, me being a teacher, sometimes I don't really eat like I should. Sometimes I find myself not eating for the entire day, especially when you teach 4 to 5 classes, and then you're always bombarded with children. So sometimes I find myself not eating, but I'll try to bring at least a snack, whether it's a fruit, whether it's an orange, whether it's a banana, some grapes, something just to keep me going until I eat. Tip number 3, get adequate sleep. And sleep is something that even I struggled with. Before, I didn't get sufficient sleep, and as a result, I had constant migraines. I mean, all night I'm up, just my mind racing, staring at the ceiling because I couldn't sleep. And I realized that it affected my mood. It caused me to be stressed. My mind didn't seem to shut off. And you know, as teachers, sometimes your mind don't shut off because you're thinking about what you're going to do with your students and what you could do better, trying to make your lessons so much entertaining, and you're trying to figure out, did I reach that child? What could I do differently? So my mind was always racing. And I realized it transferred over into my sleep. So I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't getting my 8 hours. Well, I wasn't even getting 3 hours sleep. And I've always had the headaches. And it caused me to have panic attacks because I wasn't sleeping. So I realized that by my not sleeping, it caused my stress levels to rise. So when I started sleeping, I realized that I stopped being so stressed out. Because when you sleep, it gives your body time to repair itself. So if you're not sleeping, that means your body is not getting the rest or the help that it needs to do what it's supposed to do, to repair your cells and to rejuvenate. So if you're not sleeping, then you're not doing that important aspect of your life. Okay? So it's important to sleep. And what you can do before you go to sleep, try to wind down as much as you possibly can. Sometimes you'll be on a device straight up until it's time to go to sleep, and you realize sometimes that doesn't even help you. So what I do when I realize that, hey, if I'm going to bed for 10 o'clock, by 8 o'clock, I come off my device. I go and I read a scripture, I pray, and then I lay down. Now, do I fall asleep right away? No. But at least now I'm sleeping. And from I've been sleeping, I realized that I wasn't having panic attacks like I was when I wasn't sleeping. Okay? So tip number 4, sorry. Tip number 4 is exercise. And exercise is so important because when you exercise, you release endorphins that make you happy. So when you are exercising, you're doing something good for your body. Not only are you getting your heart in the shape that it needs to be in, because when you exercise, it helps you to have a healthy heart. Exercise is good because it can help you stay physically fit. So to me, it's a win-win. So I like exercising. I don't really go to the gym, but I like to walk. And when I walk, it helps me to be happy knowing that I'm doing something good for my body. And in terms, it helps me to release that stress. So exercise and eating healthy goes hand in hand because you have a healthy body and a healthy mind. And again, that's a win-win in my book. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is something that persons don't necessarily think about. And just to make sure that I stay on track, tip number 5 is learn to say no. Learn to say no. Sometimes we as human beings, we don't know how to say no. Sometimes you have to tell people no. It's not that you're mean, but you know what you have. You know what you're up against. Sometimes it could be your friends. Sometimes it could be your children, your spouse. Sometimes it could be your students in my case. You have to learn how to say no, because at the end of the day, if you don't say no, it's going to cause you to create animosity. You're going to get so angry, and you're doing things that you necessarily, it's not that you don't want to do it, but it's just that you're irritable because now you're taking time away from something that maybe is important that you need to get done. So it's causing you to get angry, and before you know it, you're adding stress to your life. And the whole purpose of this is to reduce stress. So say no. Tip number 6. Give yourself some wiggle room. Give yourself some wiggle room. Give yourself some slack. Cut yourself some slack. Now, sometimes we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves. We have a time frame for everything. We want to have a car by a certain age. We want to have a house by a certain age. We want to get a degree. And sometimes life happens and things don't always go as planned. You have to learn how to reset. You have to learn how to be flexible. And you have to learn that if things don't go the way you planned, it doesn't mean that you have to give up on your dreams or your expectations or your goals. It's just that now you have to maneuver a little bit differently. So I remember when I was in college and I really wanted to get my degree. I really wanted to make the president's list. I always made the honor roll. And then I realized at the end of the day, I was doing a lot. Here it is. I was going to school full time. I was working full time, plus I had my children to deal with, and I was in a relationship. And then I realized that, hey, I had to step back, and I never made the dean's list. I was always close. Sorry, not the dean's list, the president's list. I was always close. I always made a 3.0 every term, but I just couldn't make the president's list. And then I had to tell myself when I spoke to a friend of mine, and she was like, how do you do it? How do you consistently make a 3.0 and above with all that you have going on? And I was like, it's only God. But then I had to step back and I was like, you know what? You're trying to do too much. And nothing is wrong with doing a lot. Nothing is wrong with wanting more. But at the end of the day, if it brings you stressed, then it doesn't make any sense. So give yourself some credit, give yourself some wiggle room. If things don't go right now, or don't work out right now, it can work out later. So just give yourself that leeway. Tip number 7, set time for yourself. Now, you cannot pour from an empty glass. can't pour from empty glass. So you have to be in the right frame of mind, and you have to be mentally, physically, and spiritually there. And if you're not there, how you expect to help someone else? So you have to invest time into yourself. And then for you to do this, you have to set time aside for yourself, just you by yourself. And you can do this by meditating. You can do this by reading the Bible. You can watch your favorite shows. I know when I get home, sometimes I just watch YouTube. I don't want to be bothered. I don't want anyone to bother me because this is my time. And do what makes you happy, whether that's listening to music, whether that's going on the beach, going for a walk, whatever it is. But you have to set time for yourself, because remember, you're being pulled in all different directions. I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a teacher, and then someone might need me to do something. So when are you going to put into you? You have to pour into yourself before you're any good to anybody else. So it's important for you to set time aside for yourself. Tip number 8. Now, sometimes when you get to your breaking point, you don't even want to get to your breaking point, but when you get to your breaking point, this is when you need to talk to someone else, reach out to someone else, because obviously you're not able to do it on your own. Now, in you reaching out to someone else, you don't have to talk to a doctor or a therapist. You might have that one friend that you talk to, that you yap. I know I have one friend, and I know every time when I'm overwhelmed, I call her and I talk to her, because I realize in my talking to her, it's helping me because I'm able to talk. So I believe in talk therapy. And that is a way that you can help to reduce your stress levels. It's worked for me, and it's continuing to work for me because, again, I'm a teacher. And sometimes there are things that happen, and there are deadlines that you have to meet, and sometimes you get overwhelmed because you are doing a lot. And so rather than get to the point where you are about to explode, just talk to someone. That is it for today's video. I hope that these tips have inspired you, and I want you to tell me in the comments, which one of these have you tried, and tell me which ones of these are you willing to try. So please remember, if you like this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Be blessed.